Life with Mark Haan.
Welcome to Inebriated Insights, everybody. I'm your host, Mark Haan. Joining me, as always, producer Dave, as well as Tikku.
What's up, guys?
How's it going, guys?
We're doing well.
It's been a week.
It's a hot week.
Republican bullshit, but other than that, I've got a drink in my hand. I'm talking to two of the coolest guys I know. Well, one of them I don't. Mark, I'm meeting you for the first time.
Yeah.
I'd say everything's coming up Millhouse.
There you go.
But we've already bonded over Elle McPherson and her supplements, so we're well on our way to getting acquainted.
How much we may or may not have masturbated to her pictures that were available for sale for minors.
Did she ever have any nudes?
She was a little before my time, so
I'm trying to just think about what she looks like.
That's Mark's nice way of saying I'm old as fuck.
Yeah, no,
I just
old.
She's a little before my time. It's like, Tikku, you're old. That's really what you meant to say, and that's
the thing is, I work with a lot of 23 and 24-year-olds, so this show is the only time that I get to feel young. So it may be like a subconscious thing.
No, Australian.
Very conscious.
Australian.
That's just you as a man.
Elle McPherson, everybody. So, man, still got a
All
big
right.
body. All right, sorry about
Dave,
that.
What words are we drinking?
She's older than all of us.
Yeah, that's true. She is pretty old, but you know, it still looks
Elle
good.
McPherson is older than all of us.
Let's see. Tonight we are going to be drinking masks. No, mask right there, because the return of the mask, the song. Speaking of old, I'm sorry, I don't listen to Mark Morrison, and when you brought up this title, Mike,
It was a 90s song.
Oh well, fuck. I guess I'm not that old.
This is classic R&B.
All right.
Yeah, you're old and bad.
And just square. I'm a big square. Well, I am wearing a 1994 King Griffey Jr. Jersey, so you think I would fit right in, but anyway, so we're drinking to Mark. Anytime we say Mark, no, masks. We're drinking to masks and the word vaccine, and then we'll take a drink. That's how that's gonna work.
I would like to, masks and vaccines, important things to drink to, but what you just sort of misspoke. I would like to drink to Mark.
Every time. Okay, sure.
Yeah. If anyone else has a beverage in their hand right now, let's drink to Mark.
Make it Mark. All right, we're gonna hit the song
here. Let's chug before our first segment.
Mark, you were the only.
Oh man.
Senate Republicans blocked a procedural motion to bring the bipartisan infrastructure bill, or the BIF, to the floor for debate this week as Democrats unveiled their own $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill to be passed through budget reconciliation. Republicans said they were upset with Chuck Schumer's, quote, heavy-handed tactics, unquote, since he had the audacity to try to bring a bill to the floor that 10 Republicans had negotiated the details of. Republicans have also said they are willing to die on the hill that the IRS should not have more funds to enforce taxation among richer Americans. I personally did not have defund the IRS on the list of slogans Republicans would roll out this year. Tikku, do you think we've done enough bipartisan theater yet?
Well, first of all, it was your mistake to not have that on your bingo card.
Yeah, you would have won.
Okay. And we're going to take you to task. No, we're not going to do that today. We're going to take these fucking Republicans to task because the biggest thing is, like, Democrats are just struggling and like rushing to the center, right? And that's why these bills don't get done in the first place, because we have people like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema holding us hostage. She's like, oh, I'm bi. It's cool. It's like, it's not cool when you're voting against literally all of our interests. But with regards to the BIF, it kind of goes back to, like, let's zoom out a little bit and talk about how the Republican Party is also voting against their own constituents' interests.
Mm-hmm. Is that new?
Yeah, that's what they always do. That's what they're known for. So.
Yeah, like the people that voted for him. So, we have an opportunity as within the Democratic Party to write this story, and we need to tell this story of being like, hey, we want to pass a bill that will pay money to get you to work fixing our infrastructure, which will then in turn allow you to have roads and stuff to get to the jobs you need to get to, and potentially even like public transportation to get to the jobs you need to get to and back home where you're making money for your family. Like, we can talk about the Republicans all day, but for me, it's the thing that's upsetting is we don't have that storytelling ability, because the Republicans have a story, right? Their story is these Hollywood elites are out to get you. You don't have a job.
Socialists, these evil socialists, they're gonna come and steal your jobs and take them over to the government.
Yeah, absolutely. They have that story, and that story is told like over and over again. When are we going to tell our story that is actually based in truth?
So I've said this before, that every single president is trying to, like, that's on their platform is infrastructure. Even Trump, who didn't have a fucking platform, that's what he tried to sell, is like infrastructure. We're going to make this country better with, like, by investing in, our highways and give people jobs and stuff. But the shitty thing that the Republicans want to do to fund this is by cutting programs like Medicare and Medicaid and other, like, welfare programs that benefit people. It's like fucking bullshit
among Republicans.
Yeah.
Like Republican voters.
So
super fucking popular.
Instead of increasing taxes on the people who can actually afford to pay it, they're super against it, and then they go ahead and say that it's socialist. But riddle me this, Batman: how the fuck is restoring the tax codes to what they were when Nixon was in office? How is that socialist? It's not. It's just
actually just talking about the tax rate when Bush was in office.
Yeah,
that's what they're
not that
trying
far.
to negotiate.
Senior or W?
W.
Yeah, it's just fucking ridiculous, man. Because even he cut the taxes. Like Reagan, the taxes when Reagan was in office. It's just like, but no, we can't do that. If we raise them back up again, then that's socialism. We can't do that. I mean, why not? Oh, we can't put a capital gains tax on selling stocks and shit. That's fucking ridiculous. That'll hurt our economy.
Eagle was passed under Clinton, a Democratic president, like, it's, this whole rushing to the center thing is just rushing towards, like, this 80s, 90s capitalism vibe. And it's like, late stage capitalism as it turns out, has not worked for the economic benefit of the American people.
One thing about telling a story is that I wish someone would be like, hey, every program that you like, Social Security, Medicare, public education, firefighters, public roads, all of those things are socialist. Mm-hmm. Everything that you like is socialism. So they've used this word to scare you, to fearmonger you into thinking that you'll be in Venezuela or 1950s Cuba, when really everything you like is under the definition of socialism.
Well, they started coining that, or started throwing out socialism term back. I mean, it's based in racism, like to curb black voters and to start having, white people vote against to have them fear the rise of the black voter in the South. They started putting out these terms back at the late 1800s or early 1900s of though if like these government programs that were designed to benefit, you know, the poor and black voters and black people. They didn't want any of this shit because they're fucking racist, and they just called it socialism to scare people away because Marxism was going strong in Russia at the time, and so that's where it basically started. And so if you think about this, all these fucking Republicans that keep on pull the socialism card, it's all based off of racism, and that's just who they are. They're fucking racist. So.
A little pushback because I think it's important for, all of us obviously on the left. I think it's important to, in order to not be the party of racism, is to acknowledge the different needs and cultural sort of situations that other races have. Like most black people are very, like black people are the most, statistically the most effusive for Jesus, right? Like they are going to be evangelical. Mm-hmm. Does that mean they're going to vote Republican? No. Mm-hmm. But we should also acknowledge that like a lot of black people, a lot of brown people, Cubans in Miami, I lived there for 6 years. They're super conservative. All the black people in the South that I met when I lived in North Carolina, in Houston, like, yeah, they were voting Democrat, but like their values and like how they see the world is conservative. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge that there is diversity amongst the people of other races, because it's not a monolith, right? Like, if you talk about Asian people, there's like me, I'm an Indian guy. Most Indian people are Republican assholes. I don't talk to them, but like it changes if you're like Filipino or if you're Vietnamese. So like we just, part of that storytelling has to be like, how do we get to these people to tell them like, hey, despite the fact that you're Vietnamese and you think that America is great because they destroyed your country decades ago, what can we do to tell you that it's not that Republicans are strong at whatever? What can we tell you that we are strong with?
Yeah.
And can either of you gentlemen like tell me someone that has told the story? Because we, like, all of us know, and probably the people listening to this also know that the story that we need to tell, but who has actually told that story and gotten it out into the country?
Well, there's two problems. One of which you mentioned is that the Republican base is largely monolithic. It's non-college educated whites. It's dominated by them. So it's easy to have one message that sort of rallies all of them, whereas Democrats are so diverse and come from so many different backgrounds that it's harder to do that. The other thing is we don't have anything like Fox News, which is just this giant propaganda arm of the Republican Party. Yep. And Facebook is totally skewed towards the right wing. And so we just don't have the megaphone. So it's coming up with something that can appeal to our entire base and swing voters and figuring out how to get that message out there. And it's so difficult. And Democrats are also really bad at messaging, just in general.
Yeah, the message is compelling, right? And like what you're saying, Mark, what I'm understanding is
Mark.
That like we don't have.
Oh, we're drinking with me. Okay.
We don't have a lot of. We don't have a lot of we don't have a propaganda arm. We don't have a way of disseminating this information effectively. Even MSNBC is like, they're people are like, oh, they're the liberal Fox News, and it's like, but like, they're still both sidesing shit all the time.
The time.
They report stuff from like the Associated Press. Like they have integrity that they're not going to just report something that's so out of the walls it hasn't been off the wall, it hasn't been fact checked and stuff. Or like Fox News has a narrative, and they want to curtail any of their news stories to meet that narrative. And so MSNBC or CNN, they're just like, we're just going to report all the news, and anything that's just like hasn't been fact checked and hasn't been proven, it's not based off of facts at all, we're not going to go ahead and include that. It's just story.
That's Fox News.
Yeah. I also wanted to say, some people think this, so it's got to be true. I wanted to say that. I mean, the Republican Party's like changed so much. Like if you look back to what their values were 20 years ago, like what you were saying, Tikku, about how there's a lot of people of color, how they're conservative. I feel they're more conservative how they were 20 years ago. Those conservative values, actually thinking that small businesses are good, and that large government getting involved in everyone's life isn't good. Fiscally conservative, spending money wisely, all those kind of concepts, that I feel that applies. But that's not the Republican Party anymore.
Absolutely moving to the right. You're, 100%. And it's communities of colors. Like if you, want to be gay, like it's really fucking hard to be outside of the boundaries. And I'm talking within communities of color, just like the way it is within conservative white communities as well. It's the same struggle that a lot of people have.
Well, with that, let's go ahead and move on to our next segment.
Beer. Oh, man.
On this week's episode of What the Fuck is Happening in Texas, Democrats once again denied Republicans a quorum to pass their voter suppression legislation, this time by fleeing the state to plead with Democrats in Congress to bypass the filibuster and pass voting rights legislation. It should be noted that Texas is already objectively the hardest state to vote in the U.S. In addition, Texas House Republicans, in their anti-critical race theory legislation, had compiled a list of acceptable civil rights leaders to include in social studies classes like Martin Luther King Jr. and Cesar Chavez. But when the Senate took up the bill, they removed all requirements to teach about any civil rights. In fact, they took out the requirement to teach that being a member of the KKK is wrong.
Jesus.
Dave.
Yes.
Do you think that focusing on these culture wars is a better electoral strategy than like fixing the electoral grid?
This is so fucked up because Texas, I consider it a purple state. I mean, I feel there's almost an equal amount of Democrats and Republicans in that state. I mean, Austin is very liberal. A lot of the major cities have a very big liberal population, but then I mean the state itself is so big, but I don't know what the fuck the Texas Congress is or senators actually fucking doing. It seems just way radicalized to the right. I applaud those Democratic senators from that state who left and went to Washington. I mean, they're so fucking strapped to try and get their point across that that these voting suppression laws are so fucked up that they had to leave the state and not do their job. I mean, it seems like a cop out, but if something that radical, you're just like, all right, you guys are pulling out fucking literally fascist, absolutely fascist fucking laws here and that are not, I mean, they're completely un-American. I mean, it goes against all fucking democracy that we know, shit that's written in the Constitution, and they have to just stand up by leaving the fucking state. For this whole critical race theory, like, it boggles my mind that they're constantly being like, we need to remember our past, but then we can't teach history. It's like, history is what teaches us to move forward. Like, we have to learn from our history so we don't make the same mistakes again. Even though it's hard to deal with, we have to talk about it. We have to teach kids this. And if we don't, then kids are going to grow up thinking that it's okay to hate another group of people just because of the color of their skin. We're going to repeat the same fucking mistakes. And Republicans and white people, evangelical white people, they want to be, they're narcissists. They want to be better than everybody else. And so the only way they can do that is by putting down other people.
They want to victimize too.
They want to what?
Yeah. They want to be oppressed.
They want to be victimized.
Yeah, they want to. Well, that's the classic narcissistical trait. They play the victim. They want to say, "Oh, woe is me. Look at what I'm going through. It's all about me. It's my terrible situation that I'm in right now." When you say Black Lives Matter, what you're really saying is that all white people don't matter, and that's not what it's saying. We're saying, hey, this group of people has been put through so much strife for the last 500 years. These people's lives matter just as much as everybody else's. That's all it's fucking saying.
Yeah, but when you say all lives matter, if someone's saying Black Lives Matter and you say all lives matter, it's like the equivalent of going into a cancer benefit and being like, autistic people matter too.
Yeah, don't just focus on cancer people. I know they're dying.
Is about cancer patients.
Yeah. So, but that's their whole narcissistic fucking mentality is like, oh, what about me? I matter too. It's just like, you got so much fucking privilege. Like, you don't have to go through the goddamn strife that everybody else is going through. Shut the fuck up, step aside, and actually think about others, other people. Put other people before you, you fucking prick. But anyways, so going back to what you're saying is that I don't know how to solve this, but just hopefully there's enough people in Texas to be appalled by what's going on that there will be people there that will unite and vote all these fuckers out of there and then vote to actually teach shit. It's like, you can't, I mean, the goddamn Confederacy was around for 4 years. Big fucking deal. That's not part of our history. I mean, it's a bad history that we have to teach, but we can't fucking glorify it and remember it. It's like the Confederate flag wasn't even flown until the Civil Rights era came around. They started bringing it back so that they could scare people of color. Like, it wasn't a cherished flag or a symbol at all until like the 50s and 60s. Like, they did, like, the fucking, like, Mississippi and all those state legislators.
We're both from Washington, Dave. Did you ever see the Confederate flag there?
Yeah, Vancouver, Washington, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it a couple times in Linden too, which is just like, someone might as well paint "I am a racist and hate black people" on their pickup, because it's like, in Washington?
Yeah, what the fuck?
We weren't even a state yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Oklahoma. We're talking about the South. As a Southern boy that like grew up in Texas, lived in Florida and North Carolina and shit, like, I'm a Southern man. I can barbecue better than everyone that is listening to this. I guarantee it. But like in Oklahoma, it'd be like, oh, it's heritage, not hate. I'm like, what heritage? You weren't a state until like the 1910s or 20s. Like,
yeah, I mean, if heritage for Oklahoma would be Native American, right?
Confederate flag here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no point in having a Confederate flag in Oklahoma and being like, oh, this is our heritage. It's like, no, it's literally not.
So when they say heritage, they mean racism. They like, it's okay to be racist. So because of this flag, it enables us.
So like racist, yeah. This is, it's it's about the quiet being the quiet part being said out loud, right? Like, and Trump largely allowed that. Was just like, oh, we would only talk about how racist we are with our racist friends, but now we can like go out there and say this shit.
Yeah. And it's like people are saying like, oh well, if you point out that people are racist, then you're the racist because I think everyone's the same, and it's just like it's like fuck, you're just not getting it, man. I don't know how to get this point across to you. It's just like, just take a step back and look from the outside and being like, you have all these rights and privileges that you'll never understand what it's like to be someone of, BIPOC, like, or even transgendered or gay or queer, part of the LGBTQI plus community.
There's a lot of letters.
There's a lot of, they just, yeah. But
we've got too many letters.
But we understand, though.
It's just so odd to me that the GOP doesn't even like try to build a coalition of the majority of voters anymore. Like when I was younger and Bush was president, he actually reached out to like blacks and Latinos and spoke Spanish sometimes, and they did much better in elections. And now it's just like, we don't think we can get the majority of the people, so we're going to make it harder for black and brown people to vote. And then we're going to say the most outrageous shit to fire up our voters.
Yeah.
And
we're the
I don't know
silent
exactly
majority.
where we're going.
Yeah.
As I've said before, they're the minority that never shuts the fuck up.
They're not very loud minority. Like
minority.
1 in 6 people.
Let's take a step back for why Biden won, right? Because honestly, it was really close. Like, Biden winning over Trump, like, people like to talk about it as like some big victory lap that the Democrats did. And it wasn't close. Like, it was super close. Sorry. And the reason why he won is because in these very specific places that voted for Trump in 2016, places like college-educated married men, white men, ended up voting for Trump in 2016, but they voted for Biden in 2020, right? Like, so it's like the fact that we had 4 years of that absolute nasty mess of Trump, and we only got Biden through a narrow victory is like, it's something that we need to consider, and we need to have a come to Jesus or brown Jesus, whatever the fuck you want moment.
But at the same time, it was super close electoral college wise, but he won by 7 million votes. If you look at the percentage, he actually beat him by a higher percentage than Reagan beat Carter in 1980.
Like, he got the most votes ever. Like, that's pretty impressive there. It's like, and I do feel that like what you're saying there, Tikku, that I feel like a lot of people just hated Hillary so much. They're like, yeah, well, whatever. I like Trump's fucking steaks or whatever, so I'm going to go ahead and give this guy a try. And then those same people that were saying that shit just being like, you know what? His clothes are a piece of shit, and so is this guy because he's a fucking goddamn narcissist. And so they just voted for Biden. And so...
Just to jump on that real quick, one of the things that I am personally, like, passionate, or I should say incensed about, is the fact that the United States of America is uniquely one of the only like developed countries that has never had a female head of state. We've never had that, and that's nuts. Like,
we're pretty close.
India has had that.
Pretty close.
Yeah, the Philippines have had that. Like, we've never had a woman president, and it's like, it's just like we're in the dark ages. Like, we also haven't had healthcare for people, or like people going on maternity leave and getting paid for that, which is very common in the developed world. Like,
that's socialism. You would have to get my hard-earning money to pay for evil pregnant women taking my money. That's socialism. Marx and Lenin gonna come in and take all of our money. Sorry.
Well, on that note, let's move on to our next segment.
All right, here we go. Drinky drink time.
Someone said, right?
Oh my god.
In an unexpected but welcome move, more prominent Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, Ron DeSantis, Steve Scalise, and Sean Hannity, who has all publicly endorsed the U.S.-approved COVID vaccines and strongly urged all Americans to get them vaccines. Since I wrote that this afternoon, Hannity has already walked it back. But still.
Really? What a
wow.
Yeah. Fuck you, Hannity.
On his radio show. Chico, why do you think Republicans have suddenly found Jesus on this issue? Could it be something as cynical as that now with the vaccines, the vast majority of those dying are Republicans?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's that Fox News doesn't want to get sued. So here's a thing about like the American law, like the way laws work here, and it's very easy to bring someone to court here. If you go to England, it's very difficult to bring someone to court. Like the burden of proof is like, it's very heavy. And that's because we have this innocent until proven guilty thing, which is a very uniquely American concept. So I think they were trying to cover their asses and be like, oh no, we also said that vaccines are good and you should get vaccinated. And then they're like, well, all right, we did that night. Let's turn back around and go back to fear mongering and killing people. But you know, there was that story about the 70-year-old woman. I don't know if you guys saw this, who was like a big anti-vaxxer conspiracy theorist, and she died of COVID in the hospital. And it's just like, this is what's going to happen to them. And I would like to, instead of have people die, I would like to debate them. But, you know, they have chosen this, they've chosen death instead.
Well, even like hospital workers are just like, look, this is like a fucking preventable disease. Like, if you don't want to get this, and you're dying in Alabama, here. Like, this right? is like this is on you. What was that? What was that?
Are you talking about Alabama?
I can't remember where the
medical
Alabama professional was saying that
was trending on Twitter today, because there was a doctor that was like, yeah, everyone comes in here to die, and they're like, please give me the vaccine now. I thought it was political. I didn't realize this was a real thing that happens in real life. And they're like, it's too late for the vaccine, but we will do everything we can to ease your pain. And like, yeah, like that was literally trending on Twitter today.
Yeah, I have the quote right here, actually.
Everyone can look it up. Look up Alabama.
I actually have it right here. I can read it.
Mark. Mark.
What? One of this Alabama doctor said, one of the last things they do before they're intubated is beg me for the vaccine. I hold their hand and tell them that I'm sorry, but it's too late.
Wow.
Yep.
Go get vaccinated, folks.
Powerful work.
So I wanted to comment on why the change of heart, especially Mitch McConnell, was also.
We just said vaccine.
Oh yeah, thank you. Vaccine. Yeah. So even Mitch McConnell was saying to take the vaccine, and saying what you've heard about the vaccine is not true, and to go get vaccinated. But anyway, so I think it's
But
because
yeah, like the fact that like I keep an eye on the news and I don't know about it, that was some low key shit because he was like, I covered my ass and I said this on some news outlet
yeah,
that was
it's
very
also been like fucking 8 months since the vaccine came out. But anyways, so I feel that there's all those reports about all of these like people on Fox News and all these Republican senators, all these like hardcore Republicans that are speaking out against the vaccine. I feel that they since they got the vaccine, that they're just like, they called us out because we're talking shit about it, and now we got to say something because we look like a bunch of fucking hypocrites, which doesn't seem to affect them ever because they're always hypocrites. But I don't know, maybe this time
yeah.
they're actually.
Donald Trump isn't coming out saying like, hey, I got the vaccine as soon as I fucking could in like February or whatever, right? Like, there, yeah. Until
Well, he
then,
released that statement that said it's Biden's fault that people don't trust the vaccine. He's sort of inching the other direction now
Yeah.
towards more disinformation and more anti-vax.
What's the logic? I mean, I know they're not logical at
Oh
all, but I'm
man,
trying to
should
figure this
I
out.
there is
should I find the statement?
Yeah, because
when someone says 2 + 2 = 5, like you don't have to be like, actually no, 2 + 2 = 4. You know, like that's just you don't worry about the logic.
so like so I mean Trump
I
was far against, like he was so against it the whole fucking time, and he actually almost died from COVID, and still downplayed everything about masks
Yeah.
and
Mark, what
vaccines.
were you saying just now?
I
Mark?
found Donald Trump's official statement that he releases to no one since he doesn't have a Twitter, but it is, quote, Joe
It's
Biden
from
kept
the
talking.
desk of Donald Trump.
Yes, former President Donald Trump. Joe Biden kept talking about how good of a job he's doing on the distribution of the vaccine that was developed by Operation Warp Speed, or
No, it
quite
wasn't.
simply, the Trump administration.
Nope.
He's not doing well at all. He's way behind schedule, and people are refusing to take the vaccine because they don't trust his administration. They don't trust the election results, and they certainly don't trust the fake news, which is refusing to tell the truth.
The truth of what? They've been telling that this vaccine has been effective and that the virus is real. And now he's all of a sudden saying, yes, the vaccine is effective and it's real. It's the news that was saying otherwise for all these last, year and 8 months or whatever the fuck. Good God, what a fucking goddamn piece of shit. I hate that
Yeah,
guy
I'm
so much.
like his own fucking daughter that he
But gropes?
like
Wants to fuck.
Yeah.
wish
Yeah.
diddled. I like to use the word diddled because
Yeah.
but,
It's a good visualization. That word
yeah,
just says it all. Yeah, you're like, oh god, it's
his own
cringeworthy.
daughter was like, "Hey, you're kind of on the wrong side of this. Like, it's all on background, but that's still, when places like Politico and stuff source this stuff, like they source 3 sources, right? Like on background or whatever it is, and they're like, yeah, a lot of people said that Ivanka was trying to be like, hey, just say you got the vaccine and let other people get the vaccine. And she on her own social media was like, I just got the vaccine. And that picture is amazing if you go on that Facebook page post of hers, because all of the people on that that are commenting are like, I respectfully decline to take this or whatever, or they're just like, no, you're a Hillary shill now. And it's like, no, it's literally Ivanka Trump, and you're on her page saying that she's a crazy monster working for Hillary because she got a vaccine and posted about it.
I actually just looked that up. I mean, good for her for posting that picture.
Yeah, it's like a picture of her getting it, like, so it should be easy to find.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a matter of time before, I mean, these people would come around. Like, and I think we were saying this in an earlier show that like they're just gonna have to die, and people are gonna have to continue to die, and the people who are vaccinated don't die, and they're gonna finally figure out, hey, maybe we should all get vaccinated, and I feel that's finally coming around. It's still not where it needs to be, but it's finally getting there.
And real quick, just to I work with disabled communities, so just not to be super ableist, like the idea, the concept of being like, hey, if you're gonna be a plague rat, fucking die, is ableist in the sense that a lot of people that the vaccine won't help because they have respiratory issues or whatever it may be, or autoimmune diseases, etc., they are going to be victims of these fucking assholes that we want to be like, yeah, go eat yourself into the ground. So let's say that, yeah, these people taking themselves to their deaths is also not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want anyone to die here on Inebriated Insights. So let's move on to our next segment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to my next segment. How about
that? All right.
All right. Every week we do a segment here where we do a rant about who should fuck off. Tico, we'll start with you since it's your first time on the program.
I'm going to, instead of saying who should fuck off, I'm going to say who should be yeeted into the sun, because I'm trying to stay current with the kids and the K-pop and all
they
of
love
that
term yeet. I don't understand it, but okay.
I'm going to have to look that up
very
now.
old.
It's a YouTube thing.
Old. But if I say the word yeet, this gets a little less gray. So
every time I say yeet, my balls lose
I'm gonna say Dave to be yeet.
I need to be yeet?
Dave is to fuck off.
Oh, me?
Yeah, no, it's just Dave. Yeah.
Oh, all Daves or just this Dave?
No, just you.
Just me. I need to fuck off.
Yeah, you need to fuck off with your really fancy sports jersey.
Oh yes.
The Mariners. I don't know anything about sports. I thought that was a Miami team.
No, Seattle.
The Marlins. Now that I'm thinking about it, and you made me feel bad about it. So yeah, Dave, we're yeeting you into the sun.
Okay, I'm getting yeeted into the sun. All right, sure, why not?
Okay, that's a new one.
Yeah,
Dave,
that's a.
Who should fuck off? You could respond and tell Tico to fuck off, or whomever you like.
I have a little bit more respect for Tico than tell him to fuck off. I'm gonna say Jeff Bezos for launching a giant dick-shaped rocket into space. Because that guy just spent several $1 billion just to have like him and a couple friends go into space.
And like 16-year-old dude from Denmark.
Yeah, for like 15 minutes, like tops.
Space or something. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Meanwhile, his wife or ex-wife, Mackenzie Scott, took her share of. Or she helped start Amazon, like, and nobody gives her credit for that. And she took her share, and she's literally donated billions of dollars to COVID relief across the world. She's a philanthropist.
Literally like $5 billion.
$5 billion fucking dollars instead of shooting a dick-shaped rocket into space. There's the dick-shaped rocket right there. It is literally like that rocket from Austin Powers. You just got to put a couple balls on the bottom of that, and it is a dick that they put into orbit. But Sure. I don't know what the whole fascination with space is that all these goddamn billionaires have to try and get into space. It's you're gonna get up there, and then what else is new? You're weightless, and you can see the Earth, and that's cool. I'm sure everybody wants to go do that, but why
Yeah,
spend
colonize
billions of
Mars.
dollars?
Tell me.
I mean, you can spend your money elsewhere. I mean, he literally could have took that money and fed all of the, starving people, homeless people, housed them, and fixed Flint's water or upgraded infrastructure all on his own. I mean, I understand. Elon Musk, I mean, he has a whole thing for space. He does do some things. I mean, as crazy as he is, what he's done for the electric vehicle community, even though Tesla, some people have their biased opinions about him and Tesla, what he did, he disregarded all his patents. He basically said to all auto industries, you can take all of my ideas free of charge. I'm not going to go ahead and force any of these patents. And so that's why there's a rise in electric vehicles right now. And that's why, hopefully, I mean, it's too late. I really do feel that global warming, we're on this path where we're beyond saving. But anyways, so the whole electric car boom is going to happen because of his research and his taking away of his patents and not being greedy and saying I need money for this. And so that's one billionaire that's helping out Jeff Bezos, even though I do like Amazon and I do like my shit showing up in my door in 1 to 2 days, but yeah, Jeff Bezos can go fuck off.
Mine is, I don't want to tell him to fuck off, but I am going to borrow Joe Biden's phrase, come on, man. And that is this week to Joe Biden, who during his town hall, he was once again confronted about voting rights versus the filibuster. And he once again defended the filibuster. And he said that the government would be thrown into chaos if the filibuster were abolished. Like, I don't, like, maybe he thinks Marco Rubio would just be whipping his dick out on the Senate floor if there was no filibuster. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. He said the government wouldn't work. I mean, two things. First of all, the vast majority of state legislatures, the vast majority of legislatures across the world don't have the filibuster, and they operate just fine. And second, the reason the Senate doesn't work is because of the filibuster. And he knows that. The reason that we don't have any gun control measures in this country is because of the filibuster. The reason voting rights failed is because of the filibuster. The reason we don't have a public option in this country, that we didn't get one from the ACA, is because of the filibuster. And it's just like, you got to put some skin in the game, man. And you got to just verbally say verbatim, voting rights is more important than the filibuster. And maybe you won't get Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin to back down, but you have to go down fighting. Because even though Joe Biden has said publicly how important he thinks voting rights is, I've heard that privately they're like, well, even if we don't get this done, we can organize around it. We can figure out ways to get our voters out. And I'm telling you, if you don't pass any voting rights legislation, and if they gerrymander the districts, I would put $500 down right now betting that Republicans win the House.
Yeah.
And if Republicans win
Senate
the House...
and fucking presidency.
I don't know about... The Senate would be still a toss-up, but the House, for sure, I feel like they would win in 2022. I would give them like an 85% chance. And
if we can tell the story.
The story.
If they can tell that story, and then if they won, they could make Donald Trump Speaker of the House. They could do that.
That is something they could do.
And then he's third in line for the presidency, and then you have 5 times as many people trying to kill Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to make him president again. It's just so this has to get done. It has to get done, and he has to put some skin in the game. So I'm going to give him a few more weeks before I tell him to fuck off. But come on, Joe Biden.
Come on, man.
Because the other thing is redistricting starts in like a month. So we're on a timeline here.
Like, I was reading that headline of what he said about the filibuster. I'm like, I'm not reading that right? So they forgot a word in there. Like, there's no way that he would say that. And it's just like mind-boggling. Like, what the fuck? This is like a complete like left turn here. Like, this isn't what his platform. It's just weird. I don't understand, but fortunately, he's not the one making the decision about the filibuster. And I really feel that hopefully the Senate can get around it for the voter rights bill. They can either do reconciliation, or they can just say all voting rights bills will not have to deal with the filibuster like they did with some shit
Just
in the past.
Make it so they have to keep talking.
Yeah, just that's it.
So
that's all we got to do. Fucking
that's
turtleneck.
our show.
All right.
Thank you to Dave. Thank you to Tico and Joe Biden. Get with the fucking program.
Get with the program, man.
I love you, Mark.
Thanks for coming on, guys.